Yeah, I was gonna say I'll just jump right into it then. But yeah,
Okay.
hi, my name is Riley. Yeah, I'm a music writer here at Mixdown. How are you doing today?
Good. How are you, Riley?
Yeah, I'm doing good. Yeah, I'll just jump right in. So, you recently released your latest album, The Comeback Kid, in November. It's your first studio album in 10 years. What does the title of the album mean to you? How has it felt to return with a new album, after working your 9 to 5 on the Late Show with Seth Meyers and, the full-time job of raising two kids? Like, can you walk us through the process of, making that album? How was it for you?
Um, it was totally great,
Mhm.
especially because I have spent the past decade or so focusing on, making a living,
Mhm.
bringing in an income, taking care of kids. Uh, so to be able to just focus on myself for a while was really fun and kind of just being able to let my freak flag fly was very fun putting together these songs.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like, especially that's something that I feel like, we miss a lot in adulthood is that kind of going back to, just making stuff for fun, like doing stuff just because you feel like it or just for exploratory reasons, all of that. Did making the Comeback Kid, differ compared to when you made your last studio album back in 2013? What are some of the differences that you've seen in, the music industry,
Uh,
personally?
well, music industry has changed a lot, not really for the better. It's super fast paced. The all the cycles are very fast. There's more information than ever. There are more albums, more releases, more websites, more news, more, which I think I'm learning people like, but it's hard to really focus on anything, one thing for more than a few seconds. So that's kind of a bummer, but uh, but I mean, I guess the positive of that is that people are producing a lot of music, and that's great. Um, So that's different than it was. Also, obviously, streaming has kind of taken over since the last record. So that's a little bit different too. I mean, it's a whole new world of how people hear and access music and how they want to hear music.
Yeah, I would really agree. I feel like that's something I hear coming up a lot is it's really hard to, I feel like, for artists to, maintain their integrity like with the music that they're making in this such fast-paced world where I feel like everyone is demanding more or just, like looking for the hook to get popular on TikTok or, whatever they're looking for. I feel like, yeah,
Yeah.
I've heard that a lot. It is really hard for artists to maintain their integrity. But, and I feel like that's something though that you do so strongly, especially with this new album, like you covered Ennio Morricone's Il Girondo della Notte, which, was
Yeah.
originally from that 1972 film, Who Saw Her Die. And in that, we see you replacing string arrangements with your guitar and, recreating choral arrangements with your voice alone. It's just really impressive. And I feel like it shows, your skill and your talent and your creativity. But, is rearranging composition something that you do often? Or was it another instance of, you trying to push yourself to something new with this album?
All the time to try and find a new avenue. I'm constantly trying to push myself with things like that, changing arrangements. I've been
Mhm.
trying to do a lot more covers lately
Mhm.
because it like forces me to approach it in the way that maybe the composer approached it or even get a few seconds into that mindset, and that kind of helps change the direction of my brain a little bit because when you work by yourself only,
Mhm.
you really do the same, repeat the same things over and over and over. So that example was me trying to yeah, mess with
Mhm.
something old school, and just did a cover of Don't Fear the Reaper with Fred Armisen and
Mhm.
that same type of thing. So yeah.
Yeah, I was gonna say that just goes right into my next question. Like, are there any other covers you're looking for and have your eye on doing, even if it's just like arrangements, you got some laying around?
Yes, I've been
Mhm.
thinking about Bananarama song Cruel
Mhm.
Summer. I've been messing with that. yeah, I really enjoy doing covers because it isn't painful the way
Mhm.
sometimes trying to create something of your own is painful. It's kind of just, and by painful, I mean exhaustive in trying to find a new freshness to yourself that you're sick of. You can just kind of go in. Your goal is to try and do the song from top to bottom, and that's fun.
Yeah, and I feel like you really hit that nail on the head earlier when you were talking about how it kind of, can be lonely working alone. And I feel like that would be a really good way to kind of, connect like with a larger music world with, art as a community. I feel like that is a really interesting way of looking at covers. Yeah, I feel like not many people, look at it that way.
Yeah.
And yeah, you played a couple of shows back in November with Blonde Redhead, and you have a couple of upcoming shows, for early next year. But is there any possibility for a full The Comeback Kid tour? Is that something that might be on your radar in the
It's on
future?
my radar. We're planning it
Mm-hmm.
as we speak. Yeah, I'm gonna try and do in pockets, big,
Mm-hmm.
tours for the country and hopefully Europe. And yeah, I'm really excited to be back at it.
Yeah, no, that's exciting. And I feel like, especially, after 10 years of taking a break from doing a lot of touring, I feel like just getting ready to get back into it, it has to be really exciting.
And fun, yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And, speaking of, playing and your live shows, I feel like one thing that really always sticks out, in your music is, sheer skill mixed with, always fresh, always evolving emotions and energy. How do you strike that balance between technicality and emotion while you're playing? Is it something that, you have to consciously think about, or is it just something that happens?
No, I consciously think about it. I
Mm-hmm.
feel like I've always liked technicality,
Mm-hmm.
but not too much of it. If it's just that, I think it's kind of boring. Like anyone
Mm-hmm.
can spend time to learn how to do that if they put enough time into it. But I feel like creativity to me is just as interesting. And so I really try and marry the two together.
Mm. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And I feel thinking of it, I feel like it's definitely something that you have to consciously, make sure you're always hitting that balance between the two. But yeah, and I've seen you refer to, the guitar as a blank canvas, its own like crazy amazing thing that can bring about different ideas, and I think that's a very interesting way of looking at playing the guitar, as something that plays an active role like in your songwriting and in your playing, how do you think that influences you and your sound to think of it that way? Mm-hmm.
Well, it's good and bad.
Mm-hmm.
It's bad because I wish that I could look down and trace back the the guitar, the fretboard to all the songs I've played before. But I just always somehow compartmentalize each song,
Mm-hmm.
which with this, I mean, obviously, like I know all the notes on the guitar, but I separate each song with this is how this is, this is how this goes, this is how this goes. I don't know. It's just the way my brain works. I don't know if it's good or bad. I guess it's both. In some ways, it's really good, and in other ways, it would be nice for my brain to connect with I mean, it does connect with some prior context, but not in the way that you would think it would.
Yeah, and I feel yeah, like that is a very I feel like good way, concise way to put it, and I feel like it's could be good and bad. And I feel like, as the minds of most artists, I feel some of them are plagued by, how they view things, while to us, to the, to the other people, it just looks like something a blessing, where I feel like with
Yeah.
them all about their process and how they view things. But speaking of your impressive guitar skills, this year you were named one of Rolling Stone's top 250 guitarists of all time, but I feel like this is nothing new. You were named on Spin's 100 guitarists of 2012 and L's magazine in 2019 or 2009, sorry. So over 14 years of holding this title, like is how does it feel to consistently see your name on these lists? Like, is it something that motivates you?
Yes, I think it's
Mm-hmm.
great. I love it. I absolutely love it. It makes me feel
Mm-hmm.
terrific. Because I don't really ever see any monetary validation or, I'm not really known very well, so being on those lists make me feel really good.
Yeah, and I will say, like, I just feel like, unfortunately, I feel like a lot of people, with such amazing talent as yourself, a lot of times they aren't recognized, during their, I don't want to say during their time or just, during the peak of their activity, which is
Yeah.
unfortunate. But I would say, yeah, like, you definitely deserve to be up there. Like, your guitar skills are just insane.
Thank
But yeah,
you.
of course. And yeah, you're also self-taught, which I feel like is not something a lot of, top guitarists of all time can say. Like, do you think that that's had any influence on your sound, or your approach to making music? Mm-hmm.
I don't know because I didn't never learn the other way, but I do
Mm-hmm.
think that I think anyone would have to, if you really want to forge your own sound, I mean, you have to spend years just kind of trying to figure out other people's songs and play other stuff. Like you could take 1,000 lessons and learn to play. You're always going to be learning other people's songs if you haven't written your own. It's very hard to create your own style though. Like really hard. And I think no matter what, whether you're taught lessons or not, you're going to have to get to that place somehow, and that's going to take a lot of time.
Yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like that is one of like the hardest things. I feel like, musicians that are just starting out face is that finding their own sound, and you've said in previous interviews, how you faced a lot of discouragements and setbacks, before you got on your first record label. Is this something like, do you have any tips for, musicians maybe struggling to figure out their sound, or do you have any advice for, musicians struggling in a similar place as you were?
Yes, be
Mm-hmm.
brave, be uncomfortable, embarrass yourself, do things that, you wouldn't normally do. Try not to stay in the safe place of wanting to sound cool or look cool or uh I think that's really important in shaking loose a person's like safety. All that safety is cover up and it's been done a billion times before and that's not the real person of you underneath all of that. Try to get to that person.
Yeah, well said. I think that's some very sage advice, especially for, upcoming musicians. I think that, just from personal experience, like that is something that I feel like is really hard. And I feel like where a lot of musicians get stuck, but I just have one more for you. As you state so clearly on, the Comeback Kids opener, Plain Speak, you can't keep moving backwards. Like, what do you see in the future for your career and your art, after such a triumphant return?
Well, I feel, I've been feeling very discouraged by the music business and feeling frustrated that since I started, there's even less of a living to be made in the music business, which is, it was pretty nothing before. But I just can't let it stop you. You just, in the face of all, I mean, it's like I'm basically talking to myself in all my songs. There is no choice. What do you do? Give up? No, you just keep on doing it. Um, and hopefully it changes for all these poor young people out there who are busting their butts for, for nothing, for very little reward. And I'm only focusing on the monetary. It's very easy when you're young, easier when you're young. You don't mind sleeping on the floors of friends' houses, and that's fun. But it shouldn't have to be that way. If you are releasing music that people enjoy listening to, it should go back to being a normal business where you can earn something to be able to keep on going. And I just really feel like somebody needs to advocate for all these young people who are coming into a world where it's like normal, where this seems to be normal and it just doesn't feel normal to me.
Yeah, no, I completely see that, especially with the like I don't know, I think you would just think like as time moves forward, like especially the appreciation for art and music becomes such bigger that it would be, positions where I feel like the people are being taken care of. But yeah, I feel that that sense of advocacy is really important, especially, moving forward in the music industry. Because I agree, like I feel like we need way better pay, we need way better, you
Well,
know.
also if you go back to like the 50s with payola, where
Mhm.
nobody got a cut of their record, money was stolen from the artist. It's basically set up right back to where that was. I don't understand with everything everyone knows now how it has reverted. Somebody's making a lot of money. You saw that thing with
Mhm.
Snoop Dogg where he got a billion streams and it was $45,000. Like that's not
Yeah.
normal. That's incorrect. The math
Yeah.
is incorrect.
Yeah,
Somebody
no.
made somebody made a lot of money off of that, and he should have gotten a chunk of it.
Yeah, no, it is a little ridiculous considering I feel like, the labels and the PR people make more money than the actual artists and the people, making the art, especially I feel like when it is so personal, like someone like yourself and you're really connected and involved in every single aspect. Yeah, and I agree. Like I feel it should be way easier of an avenue for artists to make a living off of their work.
And here's my feeling. If it were all free, that would be all right too. I just don't like the fact that somebody else is profiting off of it and it's not the artist. That's the part that pisses me off. Like I've never made art to make money. Like I've never expected to really get anything from it because I enjoy it so much. But somebody is profiting off of all of these people and they don't deserve it. And that's the thing that pisses me off.
Yeah, the music industry I think is definitely set up for the artist to not profit and for people to profit off of the artists themselves. It's a little, or I wouldn't even say a little, I feel like it's a lot um of what's the word? Sorry, I can't remember, but it's like very taking advantage of
Yeah.
the art. I would feel, and especially I feel like young musicians, or I feel like people like you as dedicated to their art because I feel like it's not just something that you do, yeah, for money, obviously, or for fame. It's something that I feel like people feel the need to make. People feel the need so strongly to create this, and I feel like if they want it so bad, to dedicate their life to it when it's so uncertain where there is so little money in it. I feel like yeah, this takes a lot of dedication and I feel like that's very brave to still make art in the face of all of this.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. But
Totally.
yeah, that's all I have for you today, Marnie. Thank you
Okay.
so much for talking to me. Mm-hmm.
Thank you, Riley.
Yeah, you have a great rest of your day.
You too.